Hey everyone, Mherex here, bringing you another video. This one is going to be the boss battle prep guide. I usually do it on stream, but I ran out of time today, so I'm doing it off stream. So we'll see how it goes. So, like normal, let's start off and look at the boss's abilities. 1.6 million damage per turn. It increases 246k each turn. That's not too big a deal. Modified gems. Turn all 49 colored gems into silence gems. This is important to note. That means anytime you have your special gems on the board, they're going to get overwritten. So in a lot of cases, you're going to have to hold your moves or lose them. So do know that you need to end the turn with all of your moves done and charged, because they're going to get covered, any of your special gems, with silence gems. So worth noting. And we have freeze. Freeze 2-player moves. Freeze 2 moves for all players for 2 turns. Can be removed by boss breaker. Unfreeze is going to be huge this boss battle. Talk about that in a little bit. And then the boss's buff. Increase boss move damage by 25% for each silence gem on the board, up to 8. There's no way you're going to clear all the silence gems. This is going to go off for sure if the buff is left up. That means 200% more damage, which makes this a very, very, very big damage if you leave this. Neutralize will remove that. You will want neutralize. On the boss's first turn, the freeze will go out. The silence gems are going to go out every turn. And this, I think, will also happen. It lasts for 2 turns. This will go out on the boss's first turn and then last for 2 turns. But neutralize will remove that. Okay. So with that being said, I think for almost everybody in the game, the smart play is going to be go for turn 2 win, and if you don't have the damage, like a turn 3 win. I think that's the way to play for it. So what does that mean? That means every lobby, if you're going for 20s, which has like 1.1 billion health, I believe the blog said, you are going to want 1 max unfreeze in every lobby, or simply put, you're going to fail unless you have some insane damage in all 4 slots. So I would recommend not starting any lobby ever without a max unfreeze at level 20 this boss. Just don't do it. You're going to want neutralize to remove the boss's buff. Do know that you can't just usually smash breakers. You want to push them when they actually do something. There's the right corner of the screen. You can see the boss's buffs and stuff like that when boss is going on. Pay attention to that. Debuffs. Juggernaut gems less 100. If it's not an area move, the Juggernaut gem won't work. But if it's like a 3x1, 2x1, 5x5 area of Juggernaut gems, they do still work. So area Juggernaut gems work, non-areas don't. Hope that clears that up. Cross breaks, 4,000%. That's essentially, think of a cross break as a 40-time multiplied gem. Whatever gem it's on, buffed 40 times. Blues, 15 times multiplied gem, essentially. Every blue gem, it's like having 15. And same for green. Every green gem, it's like having 15. So, that being said, let's look at the lineups. And I'm actually going to start with Focused, where Boss Breaker max is, to me, for a 20, is mandatory for 1. So while my Roman can do good damage, that's less important than having Hell Freezes over maxed. So I personally will not click start on a lobby unless at least 1 person has this boss breaker, or you're just wasting everyone's time, right? So your best focus player is going to be the one that has a max boss breaker. Not the one that does the best damage, it's the one that has the max boss breaker. So you will want to pick your best damaging maxed focus boss breaker. Mine is Roman. He's my only one, right? If for some reason you have somebody that already has this, there's room for another one, you already are going to have good damage. Who are some other good damaging options in this one? Well, Roman is with a funky setup like this. And you need to use purple to green. And you can get the checkmate off twice, right? So purple to green plate, which is Glowing Phantom. So funky setup if you have Mutant Roman, but it can hit very hard. So there's that. Let's go into, let me get to my focus sheet. Uh, we'll just go down here. Steiner. Steiner is very interesting. He makes a lot of cross break gems and he turns them green. I think there's a lot of ways you could go here. Don't worry about a Sheik plate. You're not going to do enough move damage to matter. You could just spam these two moves over and over pretty quick. Probably get two each cycle off, maybe even 3 cycles. I don't know. But it's 20 random cross breaks, 16 cross breaks into green. For your entourage for something like that, you're going to want Jeff in your primary slot somewhere. Jeff is going to be very important. Also, if you have him, RK Bro makes crossbreak gems 12k. Now, I'm not guaranteeing this for sure. We'll know after this boss battle. But I think, and talking to a lot of people that are smart with boss battle, we think that the flat gems aren't just going to add 12k. We think they're going to be boosted along with the boss boost. So your flat gem guys at trainer and coach could potentially be huge. So don't discount flats this time. Again, I'm not guaranteeing. I'm just going to start trying those and see how they go. So those are ones you want. The other one that's really good I don't have is Titan Andre. So that's, what is he, Motu? I think he's Motu. Yeah, not Motu. Titan Andre, he adds 100% to cross breaks, which 100% at 6-star silver is actually probably less than 12k. We can look at Rick's gem damage for me here on greens. It's a wash. They're both 12k. On the other gems, the flat's higher. On reds, it's lower. So, yeah. So Rick could be really good. You can also see I had the sub on him there. You could use the sub to load him with an all heart, buff the greens 100%, work those in when you want. Maybe there's some stuff you could do with the Zarya Juggernaut gem here. Makes blasts and stuff, so potentially some really good stuff there to have blasts, cross breaks, different plate options. So Steiner could be really, really interesting damage-wise. Rocker Sean will be very good damage-wise. Should be able to cycle through it a couple times. So if he's your max breaker, that's great. Again, keep in mind, every lobby needs one max one. So, like, I'm just going to go in using Roman because he's maxed and only use him once, and I'll carry with my Zombie Dom. A lot of you could carry with a max breaker, for example, to help your faction. But Rocker, this setup with a Pyro Gem plate to keep growing the damage will be quite good and very, very easy to run, right? So I like this for Rocker. And I like him in that slot if he's your max breaker. Nash, triple red. Right here. Damage per cross break. He gets a whole board full of them. He should be pretty good. I would run him this way because I don't have Titan Andre. If I had Titan Andre, I would replace Orton with Titan Andre. Right? And Ford and NWO Hogan let me get one red match and load all my moves. Which, for the plate that I would use for him, I would use Aftershock, green to red, just to make the recycling easier. But that's the build I would use for Nash, minus Titan Andre right here. You could use Cena, but I think this is going to be better while blowing up the board if you have Orton. Otherwise, Zombie Cena is 25%, one extra cross break, which doesn't affect Nash. That should be a really solid damaging option. So far I've focused, we've talked about some really solid ones. Roman could be very good, set up right. Rick is kind of a big wild card. He could be kind of crazy, not sure yet. And Nash could be really good, and Rocker should be solid. Another really interesting one, I don't have him 6-star, but Sheamus makes a whole heck of a lot of cross breaks. 9 MP green, 21 random, sub makes 15 cross breaks. White noise turns all reds into cross breaks, so you could do a tricolor. Maybe you don't want to do a tricolor and you want to do one of these other ones. But a lot of potential for Sheamus. Keep in mind with the Sheamus crown, it does buff red gem damage, so the cross breaks that are on red would get boosted. It essentially makes them into a cross break, right? So that percentage of red will also boost it. So Sheamus Crown, you could potentially get it off 3 times with these 3 moves. You'd be swiping, though, to blow up the board because there's nothing to break or convert into other color gems. So I'm not saying that's the best moveset. I just feel like it's really interesting, for sure, right? Okay. So he'll be really good. And a lot of people, like Sheamus, honestly, if you don't have like maybe Mutant Roman or a Shinsuke or a Rocker, I think Sheamus is a very sneaky good pick to have be your focus boss breaker on Freeze guy. Um, Not great damage, but okay damage. And if he's your max on Freeze, I can get behind Hall of Fame Brett. Makes multiplies and can change them green. So it's not just green gems. You also have the multiply damage. So if he's your max on Freeze, wouldn't bother me seeing max on Freeze Brett in my lobbies, right? Who else am I missing here? Wanted to talk about. So in a pitch, I don't think it's going to be great, but if he's your max unfreeze guy, Nakamura could bring some gem damage to the table, both green and blue. It's going to be random, but just these 2 moves. Make the bottom 3 rows into big multiplies. You're going to pick up some greens and blues every time and then destroy the 3 rows. So you should just keep cycling it. And you might hit some big ones. You might hit some little ones. Won't be amazing, but if he's your max unfreeze, I don't see a reason why you couldn't use that for this boss. Who else? Kind of a sleeper. I haven't taken mine 6-star yet, but that's a mistake. I should have. If you've taken Dexter 6-star, he does have a triple green moveset. If he's the one you're using, it's got a buff to green gems. You don't have to swipe or give up your turn. He can grow the damage. So triple green Dexter, don't necessarily sleep on that. If you got him 6-star, I think he could be really solid, especially if you decided to invest in him in your boss breaker. Also, fantastic multiply trainer. In most cases nowadays, he's better than Matt. Mine should be 6-star. I really need to fix that. A couple others. One other, a lot of people have leveled him up in the past. Zombie Black, you can put an all heart on him. I would want him to have max unfreeze, though. He'll do okay damage. He can buff a little bit with the all heart, make the board green. The board green itself isn't enough. The buff, though, helps. As long as he had max unfreeze, I think he'd be a really solid choice. And then I don't personally have him. People say some people like him for boss. Some people say animations are too slow, but you might look into Snoop because he can make a lot of blues, pyro gem stuff. So look into Snoop. I don't know about him personally because I don't have him, and you can see I'm nowhere close to getting him. But animations can be a little bit long, but there's probably stuff you can do with Snoop. So that's focused. Do remember, more important than your damage, every lobby needs 1 max breaker for 20. And if you're not doing 20s, if you're doing like 15s or 18s, you want 1 person with the highest one you have. Just get used to playing these bosses the way you need to beat them, and working on your strategy. So even if they're only freezing 1 and you got like a level 7 unfreeze, bring that. Have 1 of those in every lobby. Start practicing on how to play to beat the bigger ones, and it'll make a big difference as you go through your bosses, in my opinion. Okay, so let's move from focused, because that one was a little bit longer, to defensive. Defensive is really easy to me. There's 2 choices. One, free to play, and he's probably going to hit as hard or harder than anything is Zombie Dom. Even if you don't have Zombie Ray, in this case, he's going to keep 14 of his countdown gems because there's no one to get rid of it. So he's making 28 even without Ray. So even if you don't have Ray, he's probably going to be your best choice. If you have Ray, so much the better. And he keeps all of his multiplies in boss. Really, really good. He's always been good at greens. He's going to be good this time. I plan on carrying with mine. You want to set him up with as much Fury and green gem damage as you can. And this is the build for me. 1 yellow match and you're going. If you do not have NWO Hogan, you can replace this with Kofi and then replace Hogan with like flat green gem damage, Showboat Lex, and then hope you have a yellow to start. I like this because of consistency. Way more likely to get a yellow match quickly with the board being loaded. You could also bring Chosen One props with this setup. Do like 3 matches and load the buff if you want to get really cheeky and hit super hard and stack a couple buffs, right? Not necessary. But I do like this build set the most for Zombie Dom for boss. Again, put Kofi there if you don't have NWO Hogan. And then hope your 3 match shows up, and then substitute it by having green gem damage here. Again, we think flats are going to end up being better. So for now, don't take it as gospel, but I'm trying that first, just to remind you. So probably consistently known best option for boss, at least by me for this boss. I would say he's the safest pick to count on doing your carrying, right? If you have him 6-star silver, even more. The one thing that could challenge him, if you took him 6-star silver and you have a lot of special stuff, like both gears, drip plate, it would be Hall of Fame Snoop. Both gears in a drip plate. I don't have both gears. I don't have a drip plate on mine. Further, if you have a legendary strap, you could further that with also putting the Piper plate on, because he's making pyros, the whole bottom row. And then, of course, you can turn them all green, and they're black moves, so you can get your drip off, right? Buffed with the gears. The second gear adds a bunch of green gem damage, 100%. So, and if you took him 6-star silver, you're getting double the gem damage over the 6-star bronzes, and those tokens were more readily available. So he's the only one I could see potentially challenging Dom, but requires quite a lot to set up. If for some reason you didn't take your Zombie Dom up, you weren't playing during Zombie Month, Lex is probably a good option with greens and in the free-to-play market. Again, I don't feel like most of these are worth talking about simply because people have them in Zombie Dom, and you should just build them for boss. But yeah. So, like greens, if you have an Uso cap plate, it would proc off the sub only in boss. Proc off of this, and then you're changing them all green, so you can get multiple procs. So Lex is a solid one that everyone would have access to, but you probably don't have him 6-star yet. Maybe you do. And that's as far as I'm gonna go on the text. Like, simply put, no one is gonna challenge Dom or Snoop, right? They're just the cream of the crop. So, all right, let's move to aggressive. There are actually a fair amount of pretty interesting choices at aggressive. I'm gonna start off with one I completely spaced. Living Nightmare in my stream today said, "What about Sammy?" I'm like, "Oh, we'll look at Sammy. The Juggernaut makes cross breaks." I totally forgot that his sub leaves 30 cross breaks. It is 10 charge, but it's 30 cross breaks. So I think this moveset for Sammy could actually be pretty filthy. Also, you could put a sub plate on. So all heart, dog ear gremlin, all heart buffs the green gems. And dog ear buffs the blue gems. So you could do that. You could also do Seamus Crown, which would buff the red gems that have cross breaks, and he is leaving big red multiplies, as we know. And this move also, the Juggernaut one, it's an area, so it'll work. Also puts out cross breaks. And then if you combine the Choose to Destroy, it's a lower charge, so you could use this to load the red to start and get them out. There's just a lot you can do here. So like Seamus Crown, potentially, or the 2 subplates I mentioned, and however you want to try and load this. Literally, he just said this towards the end of the stream, and it's a great shout by Living Nightmare. I'm definitely going to try that, like it a lot. Totally spaced that he left 30 cross breaks off of his sub, so that's a good amount right there. So that's really interesting. So I wanted to start there. Props Living Nightmare. Also why I like talking about this so much on stream. Get a lot of good ideas. Hall of Fame Taker. A lot of you took him 6-star silver. He should absolutely shine at 6-star silver. Titan plate build all the way. You got blasts, you got blues, you can use some flats. Definitely go that route. with him. Have some fun. He should be very, very good. Flats should be better than Sammy if it's like we think. So you can use Bischoff if you have him. You can use Sammy. You can do flat blues, which is Seamus. So just should be really solid. Grow the damage with that Titan plate. Um, Quite good, right? So he should be really, really good. Okay, let's move on from here. Check out a few more options that I like. Jimmy, if you have the moment in particular, Jimmy seems to be solid often. The moment buff silence gems 225%. You can just spam the silence in the finisher over and over and over and over and keep buffing the greens. And the silence gems are buffed from the moment. So the greens will just keep doing that, those two moves. I've said in the past you can add this move in right here to get started really quick and easy. So you can actually just move this in, run an MP trainer, Santa Hogan, and you're fully charged. And then you could do flat greens on both of your coach and trainer, right? So really interesting. That's probably how I'll try. Actually, I'm gonna probably try Sammy first, just for fun, and then I'll see how Taker does, and then I'll try Jimmy when if I'm not carrying. Like I want to try these three for sure. So another one that could be really interesting that I don't have up, but a lot of people have a drip plate on and took to 6-star silver if they have a drip, is Hall of Fame Andre. Triple black. He does make a bunch of cross breaks. 7 of them, so you can choose a row, blow up the whole board, buffing the red gems, all that jazz. 6-star silver gem damage. You throw Jeff on there, you can make more cross breaks. A little bit of choosing, but he could be interesting, right? And do some damage. Exhaust not going to be as important, assuming you have someone neutralizing as well. So I feel like you could play around with this and try and find some good damage here. Raised Juggernaut gems are totally nerfed. Otherwise, he would be ridiculous for blue. I think last boss battle I was hitting 600 million when we could use him with the jugs, or 700 million. It was awesome. But we can't use him this time, sadly. Let's see. Who else do I have on my list here to talk about? We talked about them. So 2 left. Edge and Patterson. I don't have Patterson yet. Edge can buff his green gem damage. I know a lot of people have taken him 6-star. So he's got the buff to the greens, low charge to load the blues. It's random how many greens you hit, but it does recycle. So not the worst choice at all, because he can also buff the gems, right? And finally, Pat Patterson. Cutlers asked me about this on stream, and he's like, what about Pat Patterson? I'm like, I don't know. What about him? And he said sub green green, and my man might be onto something. So the sub is 6 MP yellow. Choose your row breaks. So you're going to blow up the board. You just put them all in a row. And Bob's your uncle, you're done. This move obviously gets bigger than 1x4. I think it goes to a 5x1, if I'm not mistaken. It's 6 MP, so you'd want to use one matchy match. So you always had to so it always loaded and you wouldn't lose it. Simply because this is also 6 MP and it buffs all of your gems by 200% for 1 turn. So every time you're cycling this, you're buffing all gems by 200%. You're putting out some greens, and then finally, when you're ready, you can blow up the board. So what I would do is start with my greens loaded, Steel and Santa, and just kind of start spamming these 2, buffing my gem damage, hitting that. Assuming we're going for turn 2 wins here, like I talked about earlier, getting the yellow filled up with the sub, and then at the start of turn 2, I drop my sub down and then blow up the board, hopefully with a bunch of buffs going on, and see what it does, right? And from there on out, you can just keep doing that for turn 2. Should be able to get 2 cycles in if his move animations are good. I don't have him to test them, and that could be really interesting. So good shout by Cutlers there. And then the last one I had was, I talked about Edge actually, so I think that's all of them. Taker, Jimmy, Edge, Andre, Sammy, Patterson. Yeah, there's other people you can use. That's all you have. but they're not going to be amazing damage, right? So like you could use Umaga, he can make his traps green, that sort of thing. Um, you could use Steamboat. He doesn't make a lot of cross breaks, but he throws some multiplies. I think he can make some blues, so you could use him. Theory can make some blues. Probably not gonna. None of these are gonna be like great, right? Shelton can make some blues on his pyros, have some multiplies down. So they're all usable if that's the best you got, but they're not like gonna set the world on fire, right? So that's kind of what I got for aggressive, which leaves us to chaotic. So chaotic. You could maybe do some stuff with Scott because he makes a ton of multiplies and then he destroys a bunch of gems. But it's very random. But obviously the greens and the blues are going to be good. Throw an all hard on there, buff the greens further, and literally just hit these two moves over and over. Might be okay. I don't know. Um, KO is always going to do KO things. He's very good. To me, he's very frustrating. So I don't like recommending him, but he needs to be recommended. The thing is, though, if you're playing KO, please know your limits and know what kind of KO player you are. This one in particular, all of the silence gems are going to go down at the end of at the start of turn 2. So you're going to have to start out turn 2, hopefully with all of your moves charged. You maybe got to buff the first turn if you're a good player. That would be the goal. Or you get board lucky. Get some buffs going out. But your special gems are going to be covered up. So you don't want to be like in the middle blowing up the board. You want to be like recharged and ready to go. Silence gems go out. Get your traps out. Maybe your blasts if you're running that build. I don't like KO, so I'm not the best expert on him for boss builds. And then hit it. If you got him 6-star silver, obviously he's going to hit stupid hard when he goes off, right? But just please play KO right if you're going to play him. Don't just bring KO in and think you're going to hit big, because you won't. But he's going to be one of the better options. I think the best option at Chaotic is someone I don't have, which frustrates me, because I want him for multiple reasons. That's Zombie Orton. Apparently his move animation's fairly fast. Can maybe get him down twice. He's like Zombie Dom, but instead of a sub plate, you use the Z plate for the procs on the Z plate, and that's where your extra buff comes. He's like Zombie Dom, but more multiplies and bigger multiplies. So theoretically, he could hit harder. Again, I don't have him, so. But those two will be the best. I think Orton #1, KO #2. There's two others I feel like that are worth talking about from like a damage perspective, and that's going to be Mutant Foley once again. Talk about him a lot during boss battle. He seems to just kind of hang around and have pretty good abilities there, right? Blue gems, buff the blue gem damage, keep growing that damage, right? It's just going to be solid. Mine was 6-star. I'd give him a try absolutely on 20s. Below 20s, I think he's going to be good. A lot of people have maybe got him from Showdown Store at this point, so he's somebody you have. He's been in a lot of boss battles as someone that's solid. If you're Master Jim, you could run Drip Plate Undertaker probably and do okay. Jim's Undertaker hits like 13-ish million, so that probably translate, what's 15 times 13 million? Like close to 200 million, like 180 or something like that. So Taker with a drip plate and a really good build set could maybe pop a 180, so I'll mention him, 150, 180. And then Riddle, a lot of people have Riddle, a lot of people have taken him 6-star. He can spam a lot of greens, has some multiplies, so probably worth talking about if you've invested in him, that sort of thing. Sometimes the purple can be hard to charge, even though it's 1. You need a purple match. So you could run Aftershock's the wrong color, so that won't really help. But at least once you hit the greens, theoretically you should just be going and cycling that. Downside is it's choosy, right? So those are some better chaotic choices that you might have 6-star silver. In my case, I'll be running Seth because he has my level 8 neutralize, and I can at least grow some damage. Buff sub, I also have the plate, dog ear gremlin plate, so every time I hit the sub, red gem damage goes up 100% as well. So while he won't be amazing, he can get some damage in, and also neutralize to remove the boss's buff. So if you want to know what mine's going to look like, I'm going to use a max unfreeze. I'm going to use a level 8 neutralize, not the best damage option. I am going to probably use Sammy for fun because breaker doesn't matter as much here. So I'm going to test that and then take her back up, and J third. And then here I'm going to use Zombie Dom, right? That's my big carry guy, for sure. If you're asking me what I think like an ideal boss battle group would be, I would say 1 max unfreeze, 2 Doms or a Dom and like a Snoop. That's totally decked out at 6-star silver. And then 1 carry. So 1 from these 2 places. Sammy could be really interesting with all the cross breaks. Rick Steiner could really be interesting too. Maybe he does enough. If you have Hall of Fame Nash, his gear, Titan Andre, maybe he does 300 mil and becomes more interesting if you can keep cycling him. He's probably only hitting once a turn though. So from big damage standpoint, I should probably be able to hit 400 plus with Roman. Dom should be somewhere in that range, I would think. Roman much more of a pain to set up though. Much more. Snoop could be pretty crazy. Rick could be pretty crazy. Zombie Orton, I think, could be pretty crazy. KO does what KO does. Sometimes he's crazy. The next time he poops the bed. Rocker could be very solid. Yeah, I think that's probably it. Again, 1 max unfreeze, 2 heavy damage dealers, and then a carry. And when I say a carry, I don't mean do nothing. I mean a 6-star that can do some damage and bring a useful breaker. You know what I mean? So you can figure out what those are for your faction, what those are for you. Same rules apply at a lower level, except you're basically running people at a lower level, like 5-star gold. Maybe you don't have the best option, level 15, you know, and maybe instead of like somebody that hits ridiculously hard, you can use someone that hits okay. King Sheamus could surprise too, try him out, but maybe you're using like Zombie Black, Dexter, those kind of people for damage. Maybe you're using Mutant Foley for damage, that sort of thing, right? The big thing with boss is try, learn, prepare, and get better. Make it as easy as you can for your teammates. Don't go into lobbies with crappy cards, right? Like have an idea of how the boss is going to work. You should be able to look at a lobby and have a very good idea if it's going to succeed or fail to start. Do you have a max unfreeze? Check. Okay, that's huge. Do you have 2 people that are good damage? Ask them, talk to them, that sort of thing. Do you have a neutralize? If you're not winning on turn 2, you're going to need to neutralize the boss's debuff for the damage, or you're going to need to run double exhaust so you don't take damage. So if you only have 1 good damage dealer, don't be afraid to run 2 max exhausts. You're going to take 0 damage the whole way. And each at the start, what I do is I don't hit it turn 1, and then I just hit it at the start of every turn after that when there's 2 of them. So because you get a speed boost at the start when you hit your breaker. So start of turn 2, have both of your peoples double exhausting. You got your 1 damage dealer, and then your unfreeze. So if there's any curveballs that it doesn't say, because blog had some stuff, but I think it was copy paste. Like if for some reason the boss is healing, which it said in the blog, but it doesn't say he's going to do here, so I highly doubt it will. You just need to work around that stuff. But just looking at this, there's nothing in this about heals or any of that, so I trust in-game the most. So yeah, that's what I got for you. I hope you find this helpful, guys. Continue to practice. Find people in your faction that like boss battle that you can talk to. Come up with a strategy and execute. Group with 4 people, rotate through your stuff, get it done, and then start teaching your other faction mates. Carrying is a term I really don't like. I know I've said it a few times, but my goal is to never need to be carried. So I'm bringing something useful every time, or as useful as I can, whether it's the neutralize here, the unfreeze here, the damage here, or the damage here, right? Like, it's not a true carry, and that's my goal with boss, and it makes it way easier and way more fun. So let me know what you think in the comments. Hopefully you found this helpful. Remember to like, subscribe, and share, as that really helps me out. Other than that, guys, thanks for watching, and good luck out there. Subscribe to Mherex Gaming. He's the best content on the internet. You know you want to.